Why do INFJs feel so misunderstood? I've talked to hundreds over the past few years, and that is one of their biggest concerns. People don't understand them, and it makes them feel frustrated. But why is that? We're going to look at 7 reasons why INFJs feel misunderstood. Want to learn more about your INFJ personality type? I'd love to give you a free copy of my book, The INFJ Personality Guide. In the book, you'll learn about the mindsets and motivations that cause you to do what you do as an INFJ. And hopefully you'll also come away with an understanding that you're not messed up or broken, but just different, and the world needs the unique gifts that you bring to the table. To grab a free copy of the book, visit infjbook.com. The first reason they feel so misunderstood is because they send their vice president out to meet people. This is an analogy that I read in a book, and they were saying that if you were to picture going somewhere you could meet the president, such as the White House, the introvert would send out the vice president to meet you, and the president would stay inside. You could probably relate to this analogy if you're an INFJ, because you know that the biggest part of you is like an iceberg. It's under the water where people can't see it. What they see is just the tip. So they only get a brief cursory idea of who you really are. And that's just the way it is, because as introverts, we keep our greatest strengths inside. That's our intuition, that's our creativity, that's the insight we bring to the table, that's our ability to connect the dots, and so much more as INFJs. But what people meet is the ability to be friendly and to bring harmony and to help other people get along. And it's not too developed, at least it's not as developed, I should say, as our intuitive side that's inside, the one we've spent our whole lives developing, and that really is the core of who we are. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, but that's a big piece of who we are. So unless you really get to know us like most introverts, you're not going to understand who we are. So that's one big reason why we feel so misunderstood. The second reason INFJs feel so misunderstood is because they are interested in the whys more than they're interested in the whats. They want to know what makes people do what they do, why they do what they do. They want to understand why they're here on Earth, what life is all about, what the purpose of life is. They want to understand why the world works the way it does, why history has taken the courses that it's taken. They're interested as a result in theology and spirituality and psychology, sociology, philosophy, maybe even history and how things flow. Anything related to understanding why the world is the way it is and why people are the way they are and what life is all about. These things really interest INFJs. A lot of people on Earth are more interested in the concrete, practical realities such as the weather and the news and sports. And it's not like INFJs don't have some interest in these things, but they'd much rather talk about the whys. And as a result, a lot of these people, many of these people who tend to be sensing types, don't understand why the INFJs don't have the same interests in what could be described as superficial or what could be observed with the senses. Now, it's not superficial, I'd say, because it's valuable, but it can be frustrating to INFJ because they don't feel like other people appreciate what they bring to the table. And it's probably because those other types don't understand what INFJs do bring to the table and why it's important. So this is another big reason why INFJs probably and likely feel misunderstood. The third reason INFJs feel misunderstood is because they're neurotic. And by neurotic, I'm referring to what's described in the Big 5 personality assessment and other sources that you can find online. And it's pretty much the fact that INFJs are prone to mood swings, to moodiness, anxiety, irritability, and perhaps just downs. A lot of types out there are pretty stable. Like if you look at an ISTJ, for example, they're a super stable, steady type. They're not going to have a lot of high highs or a lot of low lows. And on the other side of things, you find people like INFJs who may have these really exciting times when they're excited about a vision or about new understanding or insight that they've gleaned. And then other times where they're just feeling discouraged, depressed, or low. And there's going to be some big mood swings over time, highs and lows. So when an INFJ meets people, that person whom they meet might see the INFJ at a time when they're feeling really great and things are going well. And then the next time they meet that person, well, they may not even meet them because they just want to stay inside and they're feeling discouraged and not motivated to go and do life. And this is just part of being an intuitive. It's pretty natural for intuitives to have highs and lows and to go through swings, unlike a lot of sensing types who are pretty steady, especially thinking sensors. They're especially steady. But INFJs, being intuitives and being feelers, are especially prone to having the highs and lows. And then again, they kind of keep those feelings in and they don't share them, they don't have as big a network as maybe an ENFJ would, or maybe an ESFJ, even though they're not intuitive types who tend to share how they're feeling and work things out with other people. INFJs keep them inside. So when they do have a big mood swing, it can be hard to come back out of it, or it really takes some time. And this is hard for other people to understand, because at one point they may seem, the INFJ I'm referring to, may seem again really pleasant and happy and in a great mood, and then another time be low, and that can be confusing to other people who are more steady. A fourth reason that INFJs feel misunderstood is because the future seems to suck them right out of the present. The other day I was in the backyard cooking burgers and thinking about what was going to be coming over the next 5-10 years into the future, the rest of life, and it hit me that I wasn't even really aware of what I was doing. I mean, I was, to some extent, I was aware that I was standing in the backyard and I was trying to pay attention to the burgers and I was enjoying the birds around me and everything, but my mind was mainly in the future. And it made it really challenging to enjoy the present moment. I had to stop and think, wait, I have so much to be thankful for right here and right now. But if I leave myself to my propensities and tendencies, then more often than not, I'm just going to be thinking into the future, because that's where I get a lot of my joy and a lot of my excitement comes from. That's what my mind naturally does. It connects the dots and dreams and thinks and puts ideas together in a future-oriented way. And that's typical of INFJs. We tend to live in the future. Again, contrast that with a lot of other types who can really enjoy the here and now. Like, look at an ESFP. They are so good at being right in the moment, and they may not even think about the past or the future. They're just enjoying the here and now and making decisions accordingly. Or you can say the same about an ESTP. Other sensing types, like I mentioned before, ICJs, ISFJs, and they can be ESFJs, ESCJs. They're really good at enjoying the moment now and also planning based on the past for the future to keep things safe and to take care of people, whatever they may be interested in. But they're good at being here and enjoying the concrete world. But we intuitive types, especially INFJs, tend to want to go in the future, and especially INFJs because we are dominant intuitives, which means we especially think about the future and get caught up in those ideas. So that can be hard for other people to understand. I talked about this with my wife the other night and told her it's so hard for me to be in the present, and she was completely shocked. Like, I mainly think about the present. I'm just thinking about here and now. Of course, I think she plans for the future based on the past, like I mentioned, but she was shocked to think that most of my thoughts are in the future. And I think a lot of people, when they realize this, or they're even confronted with that idea, think that it's weird and strange and have a hard time understanding it. Or they just assume that INFJs are going to do what they're going to do, like a lot of people do in this world. Reason number 5 that INFJs feel so misunderstood is because their social and private selves are in a tug of war. There's part of the INFJ that really enjoys being around other people. You'd be hard-pressed to find any person on this planet that doesn't need other people, at least I should say healthy people that don't need other people to some extent. But INFJs really do enjoy being around people, small groups of people that they really trust, or one-on-one relationships with people that they really enjoy. And they, again, need those relationships. In fact, that sort of relationship recharges their batteries. And there may even be times where INFJs can enjoy being with certain groups of people, larger groups of people as well, if they share an affinity or a strong belief in something. But INFJs also really need time to themselves, especially like I talked about earlier, to use that biggest part of themselves that the president has that's inside of them, that intuitive part, that requires being alone. In fact, INFJs get a lot of energy from researching and exploring those ideas that I mentioned earlier too. So in order to do that, they need to be alone and be alone for extended periods of time. And you might also see that there are certain swings where an INFJ will be really public for a while and then just disappear for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, and just not even come out that much, or as much as he or she had before. So this can be, again, really confusing to people as well, because they can start to get to know an INFJ and really enjoy being around that person, and then all of a sudden the INFJ goes radio silent. And where is this person, and why am I not hearing from him or her like I had before? It seems to be inconsistent. What's going on? And that can be difficult for other people to understand about the INFJ. In fact, it can be difficult for the INFJ to understand about himself or herself as well. Reason number 6 that INFJs may feel misunderstood is because they're trying to satisfy harmony and autonomy simultaneously. They want other people to be happy. This is the harmony side of them. They will go so far as to sacrifice their comforts and their own personal desires so that other people feel at ease and can be at their best, and the group can get along. They want to put themselves in the shoes of all the other people around to make sure that they feel good about what's going on and that everyone's getting along well, like I mentioned before. In fact, a lot of INFJs might even say, at least earlier in life, that they don't even know what their own preferences are because they're so concerned with making sure that other people are happy and getting along. And I would actually say that that is a preference for the INFJ. That is something they really value, that group harmony. But at the same time, inside the INFJ, there's this struggle for autonomy as well. The INFJ may conform to group norms to make everybody else happy, follow certain rules, at least outwardly, and follow the standards to be respectful and to, again, make everything flow more smoothly and to make everybody happy. But inside, the INFJ also wants personal autonomy. They want to be in control of their schedule. They want to be in control of the process and how they do things. They don't want to be told how exactly to do things because they want to come up with their own system, their own design. So when the group harmony and the autonomy, the personal control are at odds with each other, that can be really frustrating because the INFJ may outwardly conform, but inwardly change things around, or they may withdraw from group expectations that everybody is expected to do and kind of buck the system and go their own way because they want to do what they think is right and it's a better system. So there's this at oddsness here going on, that's not even a word, between the harmony and the autonomy that can be difficult for other people to understand. Why isn't the INFJ joining in the group and doing what everybody else is doing that other people might ask? And that could be a result of the INFJ wrestling with autonomy and also wanting other people to be pleased. So at some points, the INFJ may go and do things that pleases everybody else. And then at other points, they may disregard it altogether and do what they really want to do. So there's this back and forth wrestling depending on what the situation is and how important it is to the INFJ. And the seventh and final reason that INFJs feel misunderstood is because they are all about understanding what makes other people tick. They want to figure out what makes each individual unique and special. And they're really good at doing this. In fact, they can know a lot about people that those other people have no clue they know about them. They are just really good at collecting those details and putting the dots together. And even early on, before they know people well, they can, based on patterns and predictions and past experiences with similar types of people, know a lot about those new people. And it's easy to expect the same in return, but a lot of people just don't care. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Other people have strengths and interests as well that this world needs, but it can be really frustrating because the INFJ is so good at understanding other people, it seems that it's a natural trade just to expect the same from others. But unless the INFJ goes out of his or her way to tell the other person about himself or herself, and even when he or she does, the other person may not care or remember. And that can be super frustrating and especially can lead to the INFJ feeling misunderstood because, again, he or she is so great at this. And just as a side note, one of the things that's helped me the most with this particular challenge is just to remember that this, again, is an INFJ strength. And very, very many people on this planet are not INFJs, and as a result have other different strengths. And we probably make them frustrated too when we don't follow through with their strengths and do what they're so good at. So I think with all personality types, we're frustrating each other equally. But this is definitely perhaps one of the biggest reasons that INFJs feel misunderstood because they are so good at understanding other people and expect the same in return, but just don't get it. If you enjoyed this video, you might also want to check out 11 things that healthy INFJs do. Hopefully it'll be an encouragement to you. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button to be notified of other videos coming up. Thanks so much for checking out this video. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next show.